Welcome, welcome. You are listening to our Breakthrough Podcast. I am your host, Vernaetaylor, and we've got a treat for you today. I'm super excited. But before we get into it, I want you to know that this is the place where you can come to a safe space to gain tools on how to navigate from pain to purpose, from breakdown to breakthrough, from your past to living your greatest story. So we have an amazing guest today. We like to call her Coach Mel, and I'm so excited that she's here. So we're just gonna dig right on in. So please tell us who you are and what do you do, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here. Who am I? Well, I'm a child of the Most High God. That's who I am. And what I do, so many different hats, but to sum it up, I help people. Um, One of the things that I have been working on most recently in the last few years is providing credit restoration consulting. And so a lot of people know me for that. A lot of people know me as a music artist, and a lot of people know me as a wife, friend, mother, songstress, pianist. So that's a little bit about like who I am. Some people know me as their nanny or as their child care provider. So I've
Ah.
done that, all of those things for many, many years. Some people know me just as their mentor, as their makeup artist, as their hairstylist, like you name it, I can do it or I can learn it. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Oh well, honey, that's a big old nutshell, honey. We I don't know. We got to do a lot to catch up with all of that, and that's awesome that you are multifaceted, right? That is, and you've got a little bit of everything going on. But right now, as you mentioned, you are all about financial literacy and really educating people of that. So that is awesome. So let's talk about the beginning of your story and where it all started. And first of all, what was the importance and significance of getting into this industry, and then how did you get started?
Okay, so where do I start? So financial literacy for me really started as a child, which it really wasn't an interest of mine. I won't say that it wasn't there, but it definitely wasn't like a huge um, part of my life outside of, I did have a job growing up as a kid. So I did understand that like life wasn't just free, right?
Okay.
But it wasn't until I really became an adult that I realized how vital it was to become financially literate and also financially sound and
Mm.
have the financial ability to run your household. So that is why it's so important to me, is because so many adults don't have financial literacy established within themselves. And I just want to be a light in this area so that we just have less 18 to 24-year-olds struggling when they get their first apartment.
Yeah.
That's, that's a really big thing to me. Also, I see a lot of adults, almost every single client that I work with probably has student loan debt. So that's another thing that I want to combat is let's get some options of how not to repeat this cycle generation after generation,
Mhm.
going to college, getting a job that doesn't cover the debt that you created, and then just being on this continuous struggle bus financially. Like 80% of the population has some sort of issues with their budgeting or their finances or just financial knowledge overall in the US.
Mhm.
So to me, it's so vital that we teach it to children and that we also teach it to adults. I think that it will solve a lot of problems all around the board if we can get people to understand how to make money and how to manage money.
Yes.
So, yes, I think when people can understand that they have a gift or a talent that they could monetize within their network or
Mhm.
even grow their network, then they will understand how to, some people stay out of trouble. So,
Come on, somebody. You better talk about it.
I mean, to some people, stop overspending,
Yeah.
stop being stuck financially in a place to where you can't purchase a home or stop getting high interest rates, or stop just getting played out here financially because you don't understand it, or even just playing yourself financially. Hey, playing others financially because you
Mm.
don't understand how financial relationships work. Also, how to manage your own just mindset about money, and also your spending habits. Also, understand the importance of transferable wealth, breaking generational
Okay.
curses, leaving a legacy, leaving a heritage. We shouldn't work because we have to. We should work
Okay.
because, well, God told us to. It's our gift, but it shouldn't be because, well, if I don't work, I'm going to starve. That is not why we should be working. Working is all about being productive, being fruitful, and multiplying within our hands. What we can do with our hands. So for a lot of us, there's a work that's inside of us that we're not able to complete because of that financial barrier. And that is where I really believe I come in, educating people, also just pulling in other individuals who want to spread financial literacy as well. So for me, it's a movement. It's not all about just myself, but it's also about getting other people on board with spreading financial literacy, learning the basics about credit, also establishing a will and a trust, because so many people don't
Okay.
have that. We see our heritage just go down the drain many cases because we don't have a will and a trust. I mean, generation after generation. It wasn't taught in schools, within the last 50 years or so. At one point it
Right.
was, but it became removed. And because of that, we know that that's a fixed system, and that we need to, within our own homes, go ahead and make this a part of the household curriculum. Because as we can see, like even during the pandemic, school has been on the decline. There's just so many
Oh gosh,
distractions
yeah. Don't I
and
know it?
distractions. And we got to really ask ourselves, are the schools giving our children what they really need to survive and to
Life
become
skills. Yeah.
adults, and be able to take care of themselves, and not be living at mom's house till they're 40, drinking the milk, and mom's like, okay, holler, you need to pick up and do something. Or maybe you're that adult that's constantly, you're trying to get on your feet, but you keep going back home, and we see
Yeah.
that so many times. Not judging anyone, because hey, I've been in a position where I could barely make ends meet. And
Well,
it
let's talk
wasn't,
about that. Let's talk about that. Let's stop for a moment because you did say a lot. I want to make sure that we are picking up what you're putting down right now. You said something, a few buzzwords that I want people to really grasp. One, mindset, the transference of wealth. And I want you to talk about those things, about this whole idea of mindset, because a lot of these buzzwords, I promise you, these are words that I don't believe we had in our vocabulary. I don't think I had them in my vocabulary 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. Now they're hashtags. Now it's stuff that's trending. It's popular, and now it's normalized, right? But before we weren't really talking about those things. So I want to talk to you. I want you to talk to the people about mindset. Where did that start for you? Who introduced you to this idea that, okay, I need to know what I do with my money, how I gain this money, and then what I do with it, or how I save it, or how I transfer it to grow for me. Talk about that a little bit.
so it started again as a child. I saw a glimpse of wealth growing up as a child. My parents, they established wealth around me. They had businesses.
Nice. Okay.
They worked, they did things that they needed to do to show me what wealth looked like. Now, whether I was really paying attention to the lessons they taught me or not, that's another question. Were the lessons as prevalent as they needed to be for me to understand? Maybe not as much. And it wasn't really their fault. It just was what it was. You know what I'm saying? So that was, I believe, the seed that was planted to show me what I wanted out of life
Mm-hmm.
when it came to being able to give my children the best whenever the children come.
Now, how
So
old were you when you kind of knew what you wanted out of life, or that you started listening and noticing what your parents were showing you?
shoot, when I was in my 20s. I started out by being able to kind of get out there on my own, working wise, but just seeing how hard it was living paycheck to paycheck.
Mm.
That was something that was, very detrimental to me and an eye opener. I knew right away that I needed to have more than one stream of income.
Okay.
So, and I saw that with my parents. I saw them having more than one stream of income. So that was something that I learned early on.
Okay.
And it's something I still implement even now that I'm all grown up,
Hmm.
is having multiple streams of income. Not that I say yes to every dress that comes my way or every opportunity
Right.
that comes my way, but if it's something within my brand, then I'm someone who's going to look after that. I'm all about health, because health is something that was genetically not really a good thing on either side of my parents. That wasn't really a great thing within our bloodline. So I'm all the way into the health journey of just being,
Hmm.
health as well. So
Yeah.
then the other thing is definitely being able to dabble in financial literacy. I was someone who was in a position who was getting denied at the bank, right? So I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that not only myself, but other people within my sphere of influence and people all over the US could have access to the basics of financial literacy so they could have a bank account and simply get approved for a loan. I mean, that's
Now,
just
why were you
the
finding you were being
basics.
denied, and why do you think most
Mhm.
people are denied?
I was denied because of bad payment history. Okay. Like literally growing up and going out, getting my own apartment. Like I said, struggling to keep ends meet, ends meet, and then also not really understanding that you can't just open accounts without doing a budget. Like you have to do the
Okay.
budget, has to be within the budget. I think a lot of people don't, not necessarily care, but there's definitely people who don't care. And then, there's definitely people who just maybe thought they could handle certain accounts, but then found out quickly that they couldn't. And I think I
Mhm.
was one of those people. So that was one of the things. And then just lack of understanding how to even get a loan. I went into the bank asking for a business loan, not even having a business entity.
Okay.
So hello, like
Yeah.
there was a major misunderstanding there to even think of going into the business loan officer and saying, can I get a business loan without a business entity? They didn't even bring that up. They just like went
Okay.
over the credit and were like, So that was like the first time I realized I had bad credit. Did I act on it right away? No, I did not.
Okay.
I continued down that treacherous path until it began to hurt. Okay.
Mm.
It began to hurt. And this is why I encourage people, don't wait until it hurts you. Don't wait until the last minute to become financially literate and capable
Okay.
to be able to, get emergency funds or whatever it is that you need, or just not even need emergency funds. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Like,
Don't get to that point where you're
don't
in
even get to that
emergency,
point.
emergency 911. Okay.
Exactly. So that is like how I found out. So then I ended up, saying like, you know what, this has got to change. And I realized that during my last position as a household manager. So I have a long, extensive history in early childhood, both in the child care center
Okay.
setting wise and also with domestic setup like nannying and household management and things of that nature.
Nice.
So it was, within that position that God was speaking to me and he was saying, you know what, you've been doing this for so long. Is this the way you want to live your life forever? Because
Mm.
what you're doing is not building a retirement. And
Okay. Wow. Okay.
it's like I literally saw myself as the work never ending. And so then I began to realize that I wasn't the only one in this position, that other people were in this position as well. So as I began to work on myself and seek knowledge, and the first step for me was credit restoration. I began to seek credit
Mm.
restoration, tried
Okay.
it on my own, did a lot of research. It still wasn't working for me. Like I just did not understand that this was something that was a little bit deeper than writing some letters. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that
Define
was,
that for us. Explain that.
yes,
What is credit restoration? What does that look like?
absolutely. So credit restoration, first of all, is basically getting your credit profile to look a lot better to lenders. And you do that first by correcting anything that could be like outdated information on your credit report, or maybe it's just completely wrong information that's on your
Mhm.
credit report. Maybe it's forgivable information that's
Okay.
on your credit report. And so maybe it's you just outdated, like phone numbers, emails, things like that would attach you to bad debts.
Mm.
So you there's a lot of leverages within the law called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, where
Okay.
consumers actually have rights, and these are not laws that are openly displayed to
Right.
the world. You have to like know someone that knows someone to even find this out, because there's a lot of info out there and you just don't know what to trust. So I literally was seeking a mentor that I could trust with my credit restoration. And that's how I ended up meeting one of my business partners who taught me all about how I could get my credit restored and just even build a home-based business out of it. So
Mm.
listen, even when I first like found this guy, I was still completely like, no, there's no way you can fix this problem. Like,
So when you say there's no way you can fix their problem,
yes,
it was it that bad? I mean, how
I
much?
no, it wasn't that bad, but to me, I mean, I've seen lots of profiles by now, but to me, I was just in a mindset of, could I really be redeemed of this credit issue,
Mm.
and without having to pay all this debt that I even owed. And so once I,
Oh, you mean so there was some of it that could be
yes,
forgiven?
oh yes, there were some things on my credit
Talk
that were
about
removed,
that.
and it is done. It is written, it is done. I don't owe it anymore. It
Wow.
is gone. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, that's a top secret right there. I need to know the forgiveness part.
Yes. Yes.
Gone, finished.
Yes. So I had utility bills removed, ton of things, student loans, you name it. It was removed from my
Whew.
credit report. Today, I have a 100% payment history.
Woohoo.
My credit score is in the 700s, headed into the 800s.
Yes.
I am just like, thank God. Just thank God for having an open
It's like
mind.
you can breathe, right?
You can breathe. It's just like a weight off of my shoulders. I've been funded for my business since then. I mean, multiple times. I have multiple businesses now. I understand business structuring. I understand personal credit, business credit. And so it's a whole new world for me. It's like a whole different mindset from what I had before. And
Mhm.
so once I saw that credit repair worked for me, I really became a believer. And I just was on a mission. Like, I'm still on this mission to help as many people as possible restore their finances, particularly women, especially wives and mothers, because I strongly believe that we as women need our own financial foundation, whether we're married or not, even if we have children or we don't. You just need to make your name known, because God made you for that reason. He made you to be great.
Mm.
He made you to make his name great. And it's kind of hard to really get yourself out there as his child when your finances are messed up. You're going to always be looking for a record deal. You're going to always be looking for someone else who got you financially.
Yeah.
As a woman, it can put you in a vulnerable position.
Absolutely, it
It can,
can. Yeah,
yes.
in this
And
male-dominated world.
exactly.
Hmm.
And so, the men will come, they will come. We got something for the brothers too. But I'm really focused on the women movement when it comes to finances. And I have just so much more coming along. I'm a licensed realtor. So I just
Yes.
want to see people go from like credit to closing. Like, we're gonna get that credit together
Okay.
and we're gonna close on a home.
Well,
And
let's talk
so,
about that.
yes,
You can't spin past that, okay? Because that's really amazing. So shout out to that and congratulations on being a licensed realtor, because that actually brings us to the point of what you were talking about, transference of wealth. And
Yes.
I know a lot of people are really, generating that wealth and establishing that wealth in the real estate space. So talk about that and what led you to that industry. And was it something that happened? Was there a pivotal moment that allowed you to be like, okay, gosh, I have to do something else. I need another stream and it has to be this? Or was it something else that kind of gravitated you towards that industry?
Well, when I was about, I want to say 18, 19, God showed me a vision of myself being a realtor.
Oh.
And so I actually got the idea from my older sister. I found out that she's a realtor. And I was just like, oh, I like that. Well, I just like everything about her anyway. But I just, he showed me a vision of myself not only becoming wealthy from real estate, but also helping other people become wealthy. Just like
Nice.
giving people the answer to their financial struggle. I really sensed a lot of time when I was in ministry as a minister of music in song and piano. I would also, often be within altar call and worship, and I just would always sense this financial lack. I sometimes would sense that the whole entire altar call was having financial lack, and I'm like, God,
Wow.
how can I solve this problem? Can we just get some smiles and some rejoices on
Mm,
Sunday morning? Can we just break through this financial issue it's just seemed like it just won't go away. It's like this cloud, this cycle. How do we get our youth on the right track financially? How do we get these families on the right track
yeah.
financially? How do we get the church on the right track
Yeah.
financially? And just the general public. I mean, I just feel like we should have answers in every avenue when people step into our household, our church doors. We don't want to just motivate people. We want to give them tangible answers and
Yes.
action steps that they
That
can
part.
take.
That part.
And so that is key to me. The real estate, it's always going to be available. There's so many investment opportunities out here, but shelter is a necessity. And
Yeah.
so if you can teach families just to not have to pay on the family investment property and people can live there for years and years and years, or maybe we have two investment properties and one of them we're renting out for an additional income to come within the home that we're not out at a 9 to 5 working for. I mean, it
Right.
may not be the promise of fast growing money like so many people are into, like Bitcoin and things like that, but it's always going to be stable because
Yeah. Sustainable. Yeah. I like that.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And so I just really see that, in our Father's house there's many mansions, but there's also many on earth. And so why don't we go out and create those mansions, create the lifestyle that we dream of, help people to create the lifestyle that they dream of. And I know that when the Bible says, if you love my people, feed my sheep. Like if you love me, feed my
Yeah.
sheep. And
Yeah.
I think that it's talking about a word from the Lord, but I think it's also talking about physically that we would stop hunger. We would stop the
Yeah.
basic need
Mm-hmm.
struggle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because yeah, even in Proverbs it talks about, just being, well, the Proverbs woman. I always think about, oh gosh, I would love to be a Proverbs woman. You're probably closer to a Proverbs woman than I am, but I always think about how, he talks about how the woman is out, she's doing all the things that she needs to do, so that she can reap a harvest. And so you're not lazy. You want to labor and make sure that you feed your family, that you provide for your family, and you're doing all of the necessary things that's needed for you to be blessed or to be in a place to receive a blessing. So I think that's really key. And it's amazing that you got this vision so early on, because really 18, 19, 20, relatively young to really already have a vision for your life. I think that's really important to the listeners. I always talk about, daring to live your greatest story. And sometimes you have to write it. Sometimes you have to rewrite it. Now, thankfully, you had a good model with your parents. But for those that don't have that model, where would you say they is a good starting point for someone if they had no model, they had no good habits that were formulated by the people that were around them. They don't even know what it means to have a budget, right? Because some people just don't have this in their wheelhouse. What's the first place that they should start in, I guess, reformulating their mindset to get to this place where, like, oh, I have to do something different and I have to do something that's sustainable?
Oh, well, the first thing I would definitely say is you need a mentor. Like, find
Okay.
someone who is
That's
financially successful, who's
okay.
not selfish in sharing information with you and giving you the correct direction. I would say personal development. Like, you really need
Mm-hmm.
to change who you're listening to, change what you're reading, change how much time you spend attaching yourself to negativity.
Okay.
Um, Change your circle. If you're around a bunch of broke people and no
Mm-hmm.
one gives a doggone care about elevating or not being in the same place that they are in today, then you need to get away from those type of people. That is so key. If you're like, I need to learn how to budget, get yourself a financial advisor. Most financial advisors are free. Um,
Interesting.
yes,
I didn't know that. Interesting.
yes.
Okay.
So most financial advisors, like, they will refer you to products and services, but when it comes to just the financial advisement itself, them looking at your income versus your expenses with you and helping you to, like, eliminate just things you don't need or have that discussion with you, that's normally free. And I actually can refer to a financial advisor. I mean, I'm willing to help anyone just get in the mindset of budgeting. I'll tell you, the first thing that you can do
Mm.
without spending a dime or calling anyone is open your mail. If you are someone who doesn't open your mail,
Coach
then
Mel,
I
I
know.
hate mail. I hate mail. Oh my goodness. I'm so bad with it. Oh, you're talking to me.
Yes.
So wait, so what? What's the significance of open the mail? Why do I have to open
Well,
the mail? I hate
that's
the
where
mail.
bad credit starts, is ignoring your problems.
Oh
Like,
God.
ignoring your problems. If you want to know if someone's trying to do something to you, open your mail,
Oh,
face
okay.
your mail. Like, open that mail. Who's trying to contact you? Is
Okay.
it true or not? Like, you need to investigate. Like, that is a great starting point. You don't even have to call anyone. You don't have
Wow.
to
Who
buy
knew?
anything.
Open my mail. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What else? What's next?
Yes. So, number two, you need to get on a class with me. Okay. We're going to go over some very basic about how to get your credit in order for free, like, by yourself. This is not rocket science. I guarantee you, I can give you 3 action steps and it's going to get that credit score moving. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like I said, start budgeting every 30 days, the 31st. And this is just beginner level. Okay. So, advanced level, I'm going to tell you to write out a budget for the next 5 years. Okay. But
Oh, so that's the advanced.
yes,
Okay.
beginner level, I want you to, at the end of the month, last week of the month, what's going to happen the next month? What did I do this month that was not really good? And how can I be better? And,
Oh,
to set goals for yourself
inventory. Hmm.
budgeting wise. Yes. So for me, I have to cut the subscriptions. I love
I have been doing that
I
lately.
love my Stitch Fix. Like, I love my surprise clothing subscription, that when the stylist just sends me some random outfit that I probably never do myself, but I just love
Does
just
sound nice
just
though.
being open in different clothing. So that's another thing. I did a lot of like modeling and acting growing up, and have always been into like the fashion industry. But that's another story. But yes, the Stitch Fix has to go. The Netflix. If you have not
Okay.
been to the gym, looked at the gym, driven past the gym,
Talk about it.
get rid of that membership.
Talk
Go on
about it.
YouTube, download like 7 minute morning workout. If you haven't
Yeah.
touched the gym, get rid of that membership. If you're, cable, I mean, listen, if you're trying to work on your credit, eliminate all of the extracurriculars. Just think of like where you want to be in the next 30 days. How many distractions do you have
Mm.
that you're paying for on top of that?
Okay. All right. The distractions. I like that.
Yes. So, because the distractions can be expensive.
Yeah.
And then the friend outings, the friend outings where you're spending money that you don't really have. So that's another thing,
That's
a
another thing.
lot of millennials, we go out and we are at the table like yeah, girl, budget's good.
Balling.
All it exactly.
That used to be me. Oh gosh. You what I can say, the pandemic and not being out here in these streets and being out in live events, that helped me because I always had a problem saying no. Like, no, I don't have it. No, not this weekend. No, I didn't really allot for that. And so you're right. You're so right.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes. And just think of it as you're downsizing to size up in a
Ooh,
greater
I
way.
like that.
You know
I
what
like
I'm
that.
saying? You're letting go. If you listen, if you don't empty your cup, how are you going to put something greater inside of it?
There's no space, right? It can't fit
Exactly.
anything
We
new.
hold on, we
Okay.
hold on to our life right now,
Mm-hmm.
to where you have to be willing to sacrifice what it is that you have going on right now to get to that end place where you can say, okay, I'm satisfied, God. Like, I feel like this is where you want me to be. I'm at a level where now I can be a lender, not a borrower. I
Mm.
can retire early. I don't have to grimace or feel some type of way every time someone asks me for a quarter. Like, you ask
Right.
me for a quarter, I need a quarter. Like, no, serious.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like,
Right. You can
you
just
have
give
to
and not
give.
lend. You
Hello.
give.
Once you reach that level, you will feel so much better about yourself. And it'll
Of
start to
abundance.
happen like really gradually. I mean, I can honestly say I have just opened up my wallet to so many different things that in the past where I'm like, oh, that's a scam. I don't know you, this, that. I know you're not going to give me my money back. Listen, I have literally felt good about being able to give with no strings attached, not
Mm-hmm.
expecting it back in any
Okay.
shape or form, not wanting anything from anyone. That has been a blessing to go from, barely making 5 figures a year to making 6 figures a year easily and be headed towards 7 figures. To me, that's a big jump to
Of
go from
course.
thinking that I had to graduate college and that there was no other path for me other than to follow that track, eventually graduate and get into more debt, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can, realize that, oh, I can finish college off of the money I'm making in real estate. Or, I can finish college off of some scholarships or forgivable grants due to the field that I'm going into.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all just tidbits that financial literacy have given me. I didn't think of
Nice.
any of that or know any of that before, unfortunately. And so, thank God, by the grace of God, I didn't accumulate a ton of student loan debt in the first place. But I
Okay.
know how detrimental it is. I run into
Come
doctors
on
every
now.
day. I
Come on
run into
now.
doctors
I can't even
every
imagine.
day.
I can't even imagine. That's why I didn't want. I wanted to go to law school. I'm like, I don't want any more schooling unless somebody's gonna pay for it, because it's a lot. And I think we all have kind of been bamboozled into believing that that was the only path, that it was going to guarantee us something or some type of success, and it doesn't always do that. And I know there are some people, as long as you have a plan, maybe they didn't take the traditional route or go to college, but they still, because they had a plan, they were still able to be successful and get actually a trade, an actual skill set that was marketable, that was practical, that was needed in the world, that could then pay them back for whatever labor or whatever time and energy they put into. I mean, you said a lot of things. I just want to reiterate some things. I want to wrap some of that up. So those that are listening, that you're taking notes, that you can really, first of all, find Coach Mel if you need her. I'm gonna start opening up my mail. So I love that you said budgeting, having the mindset. I love that what I'm hearing you say is just coming from a place of abundance and not lack. The fact that you can just open up your, like you say, your pocket and your wallet to people and not feel like, ooh, begrudgingly that, oh, oh gosh, I really need this. I don't want to give this to you. So it's this abundance and this mindset that you were able to adopt, which I love. The budgeting, talking about retirement and the future. I just love that you said at an early age you had a vision. And I think that's so important. It's so key that when you have that vision, and if you write it down or you speak that vision or you constantly revisit it in some way, that you don't even realize you are writing the path and the story of your life. So that's really, really powerful. And I love that you said downsizing, to size up. That is a really nice quote. I love quotes like that that always make me think about, just how powerful our words are and what we say to ourselves. Even in the midst of, like you say, when you're like, oh, I know something ain't right. I'm not doing this right. And I know I got to do better and I have to make a change. But sometimes we have to do that to ourselves to get us motivated to do it. So I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate all of the gems that you dropped. I want you to tell the people how they can get in contact with you and find you. And how they can start on this new amazing journey of abundance and of restoration in their finances.
Absolutely. So you can definitely get in contact with me by texting credit to
Mhm.
262-650-0990. That is my direct business line, and you will get me. I have a marvelous team who's here to help you as well. You can just stay in touch with me on social media. You can find me under Coach Melody Wiley on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, Clubhouse, Instagram under CEO Melody Wiley. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. You can find me on iTunes under Melody High. And you can look up my single Freak, which is all about God's gift to the world, salvation, as well as the single True Love. So I know those are some interesting titles. So I hope those just made you want to go listen. So, yeah.
Yes, I love it, and I love your earring. I love that little accent earring that I've been seeing, that you're wearing. But thank you so much. That is amazing. Go find her. I will make sure that all that information will be in the show notes down below so that you guys can follow up with her. You are listening to our breakthrough, and from your past to daring to live your greatest story. Thank you so much for being with us, Coach Mel. And make sure you like and subscribe and stay plugged in. And until next time, keep breaking through. Bye.